Mario 64 is the game that took the Mario series into 3 dimensions. You could move not only left and right, but forward and backwards too. It took Mario into 3D and also gaming at large into 3D because it was the first of that. Not really the first, but like the first that mattered. Bubsy 3D doesn't count. Crash Bandicoot is technically 3D, but really it's just kind of like a side scroller with the camera in a different place. You just like instead of going, you go back and forward on some levels and you go left and right on some levels, but you're always on a path. In Mario 64, it's free roaming. You could go all over the whole place. Diagonal, even, if you want. You can be a diagonal dude, and you can jump, side jump, back flip. Mario, the Mario games, the first one, you know, oh shit. Oh shit, I have nothing to say. I don't know what I'm doing. Mario games, in the first one, you get the flag, you go to the castle. The Mario 2, you don't jump on. It's not like Mario 1. Mario 2, you pick up the things out of the ground, turnips, and you throw them at guys. You know, I was watching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show on Netflix, and there was an episode where Mario and Peach and Luigi are pulling shit out of the ground and throwing them at the bad guys. And I thought to myself, I bet they did that because Super Mario 2 had just come out and they were making the show like the new game. But that was Mario 2. It wasn't, it was actually Doki Doki Panic because in Japan, the real Mario 2 was released only in Japan because they thought that it would be too difficult for Western players. So that was later released as part of the Mario collection on SNES as Mario the Lost Levels. And the game Doki Doki Panic was reskinned as a Mario game for North American audiences. So then, Mario 3 is like a stage play is the theme of that game. Everything is like bolted into the background. If you look closely, there's curtains. Everything's the Mario 3. It has like more of a world map. It's got that cool desert music. And then that's that one, and then that's the Mario 64 desert music comes in. But that's the Mario 64. That's the Mario 3 music in the desert, and that was what that game was. Then Super Mario World came out on the Super Nintendo, and that game was even better. That game had, like, Boo mansions. You go around, there's Boos, the ghosts. And, it had a lot of secrets. That game had a lot of secrets. And you could ride Yoshi in that game. And also then, Super Mario Bros. 2 Yoshi's Island. Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island is the one where you play as Yoshi and you gotta get the baby. And the baby goes, wah, 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 and gotta get that fucking baby. You turn into a fucking helicopter in one level. That game is really great. I like that game a lot. Then you go, the point is, there's been a lot of Mario. Mario 64 is the game that moved the Mario series and gaming at large into 3 dimensions, because you could go in every direction you wanted, not just left and right, but also forward and back, and even diagonal. You could be a diagonal dude. You could jump, diagonal, do a back jump. There had been other, 3D games before that, like Bubsy 3D, but no one cares about that. I don't really know if it was before or after Mario 64, but no one really cares about Bubsy 3D. No one cares about Bubsy at all. And then, Crash Bandicoot was 3D, but it's like, in one level you're going back and forward, and then in another level you're going left and right, and it's not really, but Mario, you can go, he's more free roaming. You can go wherever you want. And you go to the castle, and you jump into the fucking painting, and you go to the first level, and it's go up the fucking mountain, and you get that fucking fighting that Baba man, you throw his ass off the fucking mountain. Just throw his ass. If you throw him off the mountain, I think he jumps back up and you gotta do it again, but you just beat him up, and anyways, Mario 64 had a lot of levels. There's a level in the underwater with the caverns, there's a level with the lava, the level with the sand, the level with the snow, the level with the water that goes up and down, the level with the mountain, the other snow level. I'm pretty sure there's 2 snow levels. Maybe I'm wrong about that. No, I think there's 2 snow levels. Yeah, there's 2 snow levels. So, then you go to the Bowser level. This is a clock level. All kinds of shit in that game. And that's Mario 64. And it was really the Mario game that made the Mario games into a Mario game. And you got Bowser, and you throw him, you gotta grab him by the tail, you swing him around, and you throw him in the fucking bombs, and he fucking dies. And, boy, I sure do want to fuck Princess Peach. We live in dangerous times. And it's dangerous crimes on these streets of rage of this city, of these times. We live in Donald Trump. Cultural division. What are you gonna do on these streets of rage? These fucking streets. You can be a white guy, you can be a black guy, you can even be a girl. I like to be the girl, but the point is, you go out on the streets and it's a war. It's a real war. Right outside your front door, I tell you. Oh, the world will kill you. You could use a friend, and that's why it's cooperative. It's 2 players. You can do these like 2-player moves. Like you can suplex guys, and you can grab a guy by the arms and like full Nelson while the other guy punches him. You can do like combo moves it's really cool, and it's really intuitive how it works. It's not like a weird button combination that you gotta memorize. It's just kind of context sensitive, where like if you get close to each other, you kind of automatically latch onto each other to do some kind of thing. It's pretty cool, and it's sort of like isometric 3D. You go up and down, left and right. As you're side-scrolling, you can pick up weapons, you can pick up bottles, you can pick up pipes. Just beat the shit out of bad guys with them, and there's baddies everywhere. There's punkers, lawbreakers, scum, and it's up to you to clean these streets and bring some peace back to what was once a quiet neighborhood, I'm sure, but is now a crime-ridden ghetto. you know, it only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. It only takes a handful of lawbreakers and punker scum to turn a once thriving community into the streets of rage. So you go out onto these streets of rage in these confusing times, Twitter, government corruption, Hollywood rapists, Donald Trump. You go out and you fight people. You fight them all, man. You take back these streets, and you can be a white guy or a black guy or a girl. I already said that part, but you can go and you fight punching and kicking and punching and kicking, and you got special moves. I think the girl can do like somersaults and fiery feet or some shit. I don't know. Ken has fire. Ken does a Shoryuken with fire, but that's a whole different game. So that's a good game. Streets of Rage 2 is a good game. I don't really remember that one as much. But then Streets of Rage 3 is you can be like an old guy with a metal hand. And also, I'm pretty sure you can be a kangaroo in that game. I don't know why. You can also be a kangaroo in Tekken. That was a weird little fad, I guess, of games you can be a kangaroo for no reason. But anyways, that's Streets of Rage. And that's all I got to fucking say about that shit. Oh, God. What's a fucking game? What's a game worth saying anything about? Castlevania is a game created by Konami for the NES, and in that game you just go left and right and you fight the Medusa heads. It's a pain in the ass, it's really hard, and it's not really even that good. People just like it because it's nostalgic, but you know, it has good things about it. I mean, you know, I always didn't like the controls. The controls of the old Castlevania games was always my biggest gripe. I mean, the guy is so sluggish in those games. I mean, yeah, it's a cool series. It's a great aesthetic. The music is great. It's a lot of it's iconic. The fucking story is cool. The whip is cool. All that stuff is cool. But what I hate about it is the guy is so slow and sluggish, and the jumping is so terrible. In all of those fucking games, the jumping is terrible. And it's like a big part of the game, too. It's not like the jumping is terrible, but you don't jump that much. No, jumping is important in Castlevania, and it's terrible. All the games are fucking bad. Until Super Castlevania on the SNES, which was the fourth one, which was a little bit better, but it still had kind of poopy controls, I think. But then Symphony of the Night came out. And it was such a good game that from then on, it was every game in the series. Every Castlevania became Symphony of the Night because they finally figured out how to make it good. And so they just kept doing it over and over again. But none of those other ones, none of the DS ones, none of the post-Symphony of the Night games were as good as actual, Symphony of the Night on PlayStation. That game is a masterpiece. I like the music. I like the whole map. The castle, the exploring, it's like Super Metroid. I like, you beat the game and the castle goes upside down, you gotta do it all again, and there's more shit, and there's more stuff. Oh, it's a great game, it's a good game, it's a good game, it's a great game. And then they made a bunch of 3D Castlevanias, which were like God of War, only 10 times worse, and they were fucking terrible. Really, it's a pretty shitty series. It's just a shit series all the way through, except for like one or two games here or there that were really good. And the series has sustained itself upon those few gems that are holding up its legacy on their shoulders. The whole series is held up on the shoulders of Symphony of the Night and Super Castlevania. And that's it. Every other game in the series is fucking worthless. I mean, I know some people like the handheld ones, but, well. Boy, I sure do want to fuck Princess Peach. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 isn't even an old game, it's a new game. But you know what? Sometimes I play new games. Sometimes the old school fool is not stuck in the past. He's not gonna let the world pass him by. I can play new games too once in a while. You know, I played Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. It's the sequel to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1. All the Dragon Ball games are exactly the fucking same. Sometimes they're like a 2D fighter, sometimes they're like a 3D free-roaming fighter, but those are the only two kinds, and they all have the same gameplay. You play through the story of the game, or the story of the series. They're all just the series. And sometimes but this game, it has some kind of like time travel gimmick to where you're going back to all these moments in the series timeline, and there's future Trunks, and there's like the villains from the movies that were like not canon, and you gotta fight those guys too, because they're infesting the time stream from other time streams, which I guess is a pretty cool idea, a pretty creative way to introduce, you know, the non-canon movies into the canon. That's pretty cool. Anyways, this game is like an online Tenkaichi. There's like a big lobby area. Really, the most fun part of the game is just making your character and walking around the lobby area and talking to people and getting new clothes. That's the whole fun part of the game. The fighting is actually pretty shit. It's pretty unremarkable. For some reason, none of the Dragon Ball Z games have ever been as good as Tenkaichi 2. None of, like, that game was perfect. The gameplay was, like, deceptively simple. Like, anyone could learn the basics, but if you got really good at it, you could pull off all kinds of amazing things, and it was it was the most show-accurate fighting system they could have possibly had in a Dragon Ball Z game, and it was a lot of fun, and it took a lot of skill to master, and I did master it. I was the best at that game of all time. I could beat anyone with anyone, and I love the fact that the characters were not balanced at all. Like, I love that they were blatantly tiered. Like, some characters just suck, and some characters are, like, broken as shit, like, just like how in the show is. Like, you beat Broly, you kill everybody, you beat Yajirobe or Hercule, you get your ass stomped. And, you know, I used to be so good at that fucking game that I would be like a Yajirobe or a Hercule, and I would beat a Broly or a Omega Shenron. I didn't even fucking give a shit. I was the best at that game. And if you got two people who were really good at that game, you could have some really epic, cool battles. But, like, none of them have ever been as good as Dragon Ball Tenkaichi 2. Even, like, Tenkaichi 3 was shit in comparison. They changed the controls in that one just a little bit, and just that small change was enough to make me go, I don't give a shit, because you spend so much time getting good at one iteration, then the next iteration, they've changed things, and you're not good at it anymore, so what's the fucking point? And, you know, still, even in these newer games, they have yet to recapture just the perfection of the control scheme of Tenkaichi 2. I mean, these Xenoverse games seem like they're aping the basic combat style of Tenkaichi, but they're just not quite the same. They're just a little bit dumbed down, it seems like, and a little bit less fun. You know, still moderately enjoyable. It's still always enjoyable to be a Dragon Ball Z guy and fly around the world and fight the guys, but it's just, the gameplay is just not there like how Tenkaichi 2 was, man. That's my favorite one in the series, and none of them have been as good as that. I might check out the new one that's coming out, the 2D fighter one. That one looks pretty cool. It's like a more traditional Street Fighter-based controls, which I'm curious to see how that would work in a DBZ game. I mean, we've seen it before in DBZ games, like on the PS1 with like GT Final Bout, but those games weren't even good, and the original Budokai games for the PS2, but I didn't even play those ones. So, you know, who knows? I'm curious to see how that style of gameplay works and melds in the fucking Dragon Ball Z universe, not GT universe. That I don't even care about that shit. But what the fuck was I saying? I don't know. I might check that out. But anyways, Xenoverse 2. Yeah, the actual gameplay, you know, the meat and bones of the gameplay isn't even that fun. It doesn't even fucking matter. The most fun I had was just walking around the lobby area, exploring, talking to guys. Like, you can talk to characters. Like, you can talk to Frieza. You become a member of the Frieza Force, and you can be a part of his army, and he teaches you moves and shit. That's the cool part. I like that shit. You know, you're flying around, you're looking at all the other characters online, you're checking their stats, you're seeing what kind of crazy guys they make. It's pretty cool, and I liked making my character, man. I love making characters in any game. That's my favorite part of any game, is just the customization, the character creation, just the RPG, the role-playing aspects, you know? I want to make my guy, and I want to play a role of my choosing and of my creation. Well, the first character I made was this fucking smoking fine yellow Majin Buu female, and I called her Honey Boo Boo. Get it? Honey Boo, because she's a boo girl. She was hot as fuck. And I played as her for a little while, and I got kind of bored, you know. Whenever you play a Dragon Ball Z game, you know, they have all the different races that you can be, even like a Frieza race or a Namek or a human or a Majin Buu guy. You know, they have all those different races you can be, but come on. You're not fooling anybody. You play a Dragon Ball Z game, you make your OC do not steal special guy, you want to be a Saiyan. If you're in DBZ making a character, you want to be a Saiyan. Everybody knows that's what you want to do. You can you can fool some of the people some of the time, be like, oh no, I want to be different, I want to be a Boo girl, or I want to be a Namek, and yeah, you'll do that for like 10 minutes until nobody's watching anymore, and then when you're alone, you're like, okay, now that I don't have to impress anybody, now I can be a Saiyan like I really want. So then I made my Saiyan character. I made this hot Saiyan girl. I just named her Endless Jess. That's my name. Good old Jess. It's a gender-neutral name. It can work. So I don't even got to change it if I want to be a sexy girl. So I was a sexy girl. I gave her a little, like, little beauty mark on her face. A little fucking short, cute haircut. A little purple scouter. Had her in the Saiyan armor. That was the most fun part of the game. Just making my Saiyan girl. And you fucking fly around the lobby area, you learn how, you go talk to Krillin, learn how to do a fucking Destructo disc. You go talk to Vegeta, you learn how to do a Final Flash Gallic Gun. That's what I'm talking about. That's what the fucking Dragon Ball experience is all about, man. Go talk to Frieza, you learn how to do the thing with the finger, the laser out of his fingers. It's cool shit. Yeah, it's cool shit. So I made my little fucking Saiyan girl. I got a bunch of cool clothes, little accessories, little sword to wear on her back and stuff. That was a lot of fun. I guess if you have the game and you ever see me running around, we can do battle. But, yeah, that was the fun part. I'm pretty bored of it now. Kind of over it. I feel like I got my money's worth. I got about 3 or 4 hours of fun out of it, and the rest of it's just kind of the same shit over and over again. You know, go through the story of the series, the same shit you've seen countless times playing these fucking Dragon Ball games. Yeah, that's about it. Pretty good game. I guess I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Boy, I sure do want to fuck Princess Peach.